I'm sure people who went out of their way to build that team and upgrade those champions will not be happy, but I guess that's probably the nature of the beast to some extent.
We're going to nerf, or rather fix Cadaver.
Even this was going to be unpopular to say with some of my audience, but I would encourage you guys to delay as long as you have to nail it, to your point. Are Raid Shadow Legends content creators out of touch? Are we? You guys tell me in the comments. But today, I really wanted to talk about this. I've been teasing this video for a few days now. Actually, first off, hey guys, Ash here, Raid Shadow Legends, sending some positive vibes your way. This really stems from the conversation around Corpulent Cadaver, but it actually extends to much more than just that, right? Really in balancing as a whole in this game. And I want to use really a couple videos as examples and have an open conversation with you guys and see how you feel about all this stuff, right? So, as I mentioned, it starts with Corpulent Cadaver. Let me go ahead and play a quick tidbit of my interview with Cirilla so you guys can get up to date with what they're doing to Corpulent Cadaver and how I responded to her.
It's finally happening next week. Fingers crossed, if all is well, there will be another release, version release of the game, and with it, we're going to nerf or rather fix Cadaver, and namely his A1. We're gonna put a 200k cap to the additional damage from his shield.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
This is something that we'll ask you to see how it plays out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for myself on that one. I am happy that you're doing that. I'm sure people who went out of their way to build that team and upgrade those champions will not be.
That's a question. That's a question.
I guess that's probably the nature of the beast to some extent.
Only fair.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. So that reaction by me in this 30-minute video, I wasn't ready for it, honestly. That was the number one complained about thing was my reaction to that Corpulent Cadaver nerf news. Like, I'm a fan, but people must be upset who built the team.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
And honestly, it was kind of a thoughtless comment, you know? Let me just tell you my thought process on that, right? My thought process was, yeah, I'm not against, you know, I say free to play, but let's face it, Brogni and Corpulent, and then a bunch of buff extenders is more free to play or accessible than like a Acrisia team or something like that, right? Now, I do have Acrisia. I don't have Grazner Iron Gut. I don't have 2 Yamekos. I don't have 2 or 3 Acrisias, but I still understand how compared to other OP champions, they're not touching them. They're just touching Corpulent Cadaver and Brogni and buff extenders who a lot of people actually have. But in my thought process, just to kind of be real with you, the issue wasn't that it does a ton of damage and is a super viable strategy. The issue is that it does, like, you know, hundreds of billions or trillions of damage, you know, which is still like 100 times more than, you know, an Acrisia team or whatever, you know. That's kind of what my thought process was, but I think I sort of missed the mark, half and half here, and I'll talk about why, but I actually wanted to talk about 2 other videos first, right? So Hell Hades, he released a video called My Record, Double Acrisia is like cheating. So I guess he pulled 2 Acrisias and then he got a new record. So I would advise you guys watch this whole video. I won't even show you what the final damage is, just out of respect for not, you know, taking all of his content or whatever. But obviously it's pretty good, right? And he has 2 Acrisias. He has a, who's he running here anyway? Let me look at the team here. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that is a pretty nasty squad that he's running there, right? And it looks like he's missing Hex, though, I would say. I don't know what his final damage is. You could probably get a lot more with a little Hex, a little curse set maybe in there. Curse set, by the way, guys, apropos of nothing, is so strong now in Hydra. You should run an AoE champion, like a Krisk, for example, with an AoE on his A1 and his A2, in a curse set if you don't already have like a Mithrala or whatever on the team. Anyway, I digress. So he shows this team off, And then I couldn't help but notice, because I like to review what people are talking about, you know? I couldn't help but notice, let me just go to the top comments here. Wow, I sort my top comments and then nothing changes. It's not the top comments. But either way, I couldn't help but notice a lot of people were mad. We're mad about this, right? So let's see. Let me just kind of scroll here. Now that Corpulent Cadaver is getting nerfed, I got to build the next best thing. Hades got to put Curse in his gear. Okay. Kraken teams like this are the reason that Cadaver teams shouldn't be nerfed to the ground. I agree, he shouldn't be able to hit for more than 3 million per hit, but he is part of the past fusion where this one is like opening your wallet. So why are teams like this not mentioned as OP? Well, it's because too many Krakens would be mad for spending money on champs like this. Should they be rewarded? Yes, but Hydra Clash will become what Live Arena is, a Kraken fest. This team is more unobtainable than the core team with all those void Legos. So it's okay to have a double Acrizia team to do insane amounts of Hydra damage, but the Corpulent team is bad and should get a nerf. Maybe they should nerf Acrizia for Hydra. So they're gonna nerf Cadaver, but not Acrizia, Nutcracker, Krisk, Sify, Marichka, Taurus. They nerf Rhodos and Tormund, but they're not gonna nerf Acrizia. This game is dead for players like me, who will never pull a meta champ. 4.5 years of playing Raid, still trying to get Sir Nick, I guess, and Venus. Can't get any void Legos above C tier. It's stupid how Raid balances the game. 6 voids legendaries from Shards, most free-to-play Hydra team I've ever seen. Would be nice to have one Acrizia. Since Corpulent is no longer going to be an option for Hydra, now all I have to do is spend thousands of dollars on void shards to stay competitive. I see what they did. We complain about a Cadaver teams that ruins Hydra Clash with stupid numbers, but this is the same exact thing. If you're lucky enough to have an Acrizia or two, it's no different than having a Brogni Krisk and doing a Cadaver team. It's because some salty whales don't want a rare to being used to be useful. LOL, but the Corpulent Cadaver nerf is going to make Hydra Clash so much more balanced. Now I'm actually going to be able to compete. You guys might not end up losing. In a Hydra Clash by 20 billion points anymore, but believe me, you will most definitely be getting your cheeks clapped by teams like this in Hydra Clash. For all the complaints and crying about Cadaver somehow using dupe champs that deal over 200 million damage is somehow okay? LOL, this is the type of shit we'll see when Cadaver gets nerfed. We're gonna be talking about Hydra Clash being a problem because it's still gonna be. In all honesty, as much as I appreciate HH Gaming and all they do for the average players, videos like this that make me want to leave this game because it reminds me that I'll never have these levels unless I take out a second mortgage. Thank you, Hades. You've made leaving this game much easier. You know what, guys? Have I made my point? I will end there, but there's so many comments like this, and frankly, first of all, I love Hades and I love the HH Gaming crew. This is not meant to be any sort of a shot or anything like that. To be real, I should have seen this coming and he should have seen this coming, these type of comments, right? I should have seen it coming when I just thoughtlessly agreed that it's a great nerf to Cirilla, and I didn't ask a follow-up question about, to me, it's not about nerfing every champion into the ground personally. And it's not because I have them. I don't have Supreme, I don't have half the champions on this team, for example, right? It's about that I'm always a fan of buffing other viable strategies that can help non-spenders compete versus nerfing everybody into the ground, right? So I should have asked about that. I should have asked about other more free-to-play friendly strategies to help players that don't have a Venus and a Cupidus, a Grazer, and a Acrizia, 15 Yamekos, and 25 Trundas.
Who are these people?
I'm kidding, obviously, but you guys get the point. I also wanted to give a quick thought or a quick shout out to Nubraids. I think Nubraids has been spot on his comment and content in his takes lately. So let's see what he has to say about the Corpulent Cadaver nerf.
It's Corpulent Cadaver. Rare champion, very simple. His damage is 30% of the value of a shield on him. It's very simple. He just does additional damage. This damage cannot weak hit. This damage is not reduced by the Hydra passives, which reduce damage taken. So for example, when a head freshly spawns in, they normally have like what? I don't know, 85, 90% damage reduction or something on a fresh head. He ignores that completely. Just I don't know why, he just does. Can't weak hit, does the full damage to everything, etc. And you can obviously scale this up to do totally insane numbers. So to give you one example, I think this is the current record, which is Doc Moreau. I think he just overtook Victor Tez.
So just like Nub, I'm going to be real with you guys. When I first saw this, I don't even know what that number is.
In the beginning, in the beginning.
4 trillion damage? Or is it 431 billion damage? This is where I saw the issue with Corpulent Cadaver teams, you know? And this is why I'm still okay with nerfing this comp. Because 200 million is a lot different than 431 billion. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Seriously, even if you're not okay with the nerf, it's a big difference and it unsettles the balance, you know? So what I think the happy medium would be is make a 200 million or a 300 million damage Corpulent Cadaver team easily possible while not having it be trillions of damage or whatever that number the heck that is, right?
I didn't even know like how much damage. It's an absurd amount of damage. So much damage that it becomes actually almost illegible. You're like, wait, is that like billions or trillions or millions? I don't even know anymore. It's
Right?
a crazy
Is it a
amount
bill?
of damage. And yeah, so that's basically what is being nerfed. You're not going to be able to do this. Now, what are going to be the meta? And also, some things I think should be nerfed as well. I actually think a couple of things that should be nerfed are immediately visible already in this particular run. So number one, I have this champion, but I don't have two of them. And I think that is where the nerf should come. I really think it's important.
You guys should watch this video. He has some really sober and good takes, some of which I agree with, some of which I disagree with. I would love to have Nubs on. If you want to, let me know. And we can kind of go over some of these more controversial champion nerfs and buffs, because this is a conversation that goes beyond Corpulent Cadaver. He has an issue with Yumeko. Basically, Yumeko is being able to reset the cooldown of the other Yumeko, and how Yumeko can reset Kymar, and then Kymar can reset Yumeko, you know? So I actually think that's a valid complaint as well. Like, I agree with Nub that Yumeko needs a nerf. We call it a nerf, but it almost feels like a fix. You shouldn't be able to have two Yumekos that can just continuously reset all the abilities so nothing ever goes on cooldown, to me at least. And that's where a Void truly power creeps this game, right? So she's also an issue. He also goes on, and again, I don't want to steal all of his opinions and content, so I'll link to this video if you guys want to check it out. He also goes on to say that Trunda needs a nerf. So I actually disagree with the Trunda nerf, because I think that her power on that A2, as ridiculous as it is in Hydra, it starts to tamper down quite a bit the higher difficulties that you get. And I think that is okay personally. Again, I'm in favor of buffing, not nerfing, generally speaking. But I have to end in the one area in my Cirilla interview that I think I'm kicking myself for not asking about, and that's Taurus and Marichka. I did something that I haven't done in months and months and months. And anybody ever do this, especially like in the US, where you don't stay up until 3 a.m. to finish the end of the season? But does anybody actually just play, you know, till they go to bed or whatever, or near bedtime, and just kind of get a feel for what it's like in Platinum if you're able to get there at the end of the week? And that's what I did anyway. So I got, you know, top whatever. I was top 10 for a little bit, you know, just kind of chilling. And then I went to bed, and I was didn't finish in Platinum at all because of the ridiculous time reset that they never change, in my opinion. Of course, I'm biased. That being said, though, I noticed that it's worse than I remember, the Taurus and Marichka, you know? I think it's gotten worse as more people have gotten Taurus and Marichka, right? And I'm not just saying that because I don't have Taurus and Marichka. I have Marichka, don't have Taurus, right? But I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem, you know? I think that it was literally every team. You know, every team I was losing to, and every team on my, you know, I would have to refresh 2 or 3 or 4 times just to find one team without Taurus and Marichka, you know? And that's pervasive. That's a lot. That's meta destroying, meta defining. And I've been hesitant to say this, but I'm wondering if they don't nerf them, even small nerf. I've been a fan of nerfing, you know, these champions, but I've said it before. I'm a fan of like super small nerfs. Really quickly, I want to take away the bomb damage triggering unkillable off Marichka's passive. That way bomb is more of a viable, you know, option for dealing with that tandem. It's not going to be a game changer. It's not going to be make or break, right? But I think it's a very small nerf, and I want to take away the unresistible element of the Tara sphere. I think it ought to be resisted at the very least, right? So these are very small nerfs. I'm not even sure if that would impact, you know, their overall, you know, popularity in the end game. But I say that even that is an unpopular thing to say amongst some people, you know, mainly people who have Taurus and Marichka, right? It's hard not to bring our own biases to these conversations. I'm not a fan of nerfs, but I do think that they're appropriate when one champion defines the entire meta in an area of this game. So by that argument, you could probably make the case that maybe Acrisia or whatever does need a nerf. I don't know. I'm not in favor personally of it. But Taurus and Marichka, even as a Marichka owner, I think it might make sense. I guess I want to end with a thought of creators being a bit out of touch, right? Kind of where we started in this conversation. And I think that there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that because by the nature of the beast, we've been playing and most of us spending, you know, either a lot or a little bit. Anything like me, I spent a lot in the past and now I don't, outside of like the very occasional void shard opening or something like that, which is still spending, you know? But I've been playing also since 2019, as well as, you know, I know almost every CC around today has, right? So I think that in a way we are probably a bit out of touch with somebody who's just starting out, right? So how do we remedy that? Well, first and foremost, I need to continue to rely on you guys to put me in check when I'm out of touch. And I appreciate you guys, the comments, especially the ones that are constructive, which is the vast majority of my audience. I'm so freaking lucky to have you guys. Seriously, we all are as content creators in this game. I think it's, you guys hold us in check, right? And I know that, you know, same thing with like Hades, right? We've talked about this, like how amazing this community is. And I'm sure he saw that feedback and he has similar thoughts as well, right? It's important though for you guys to continue to talk to us about these things as well. That all being said though, I do stand by the Corpulent Cadaver nerf being a generally good thing for the reasons I outlined earlier. I think that, you know, there's one thing to be getting, if they were getting 300, 400, heck, even 500 million damage on average, I would be opposed to the nerf because of how accessible those champions are to everybody. But when it's hundreds of billions or whatever, now I guess one argument might be, you know what, Ash? I have Brogni and Corpulent Cadaver, but I don't have 2 Yamekos and a Kriska. I'm not putting out 1 trillion damage, 100 billion, or 2 billion damage. And that's valid. That's absolutely valid. But my counter argument to that would be, you're still hopefully going to be able to fairly easily one key, even with a 200,000 damage cap on that A1 in some difficulties, right? I don't know. How do you guys feel about it now that I've laid it all out there for you? How do you feel about this? Do you think 200K is too low? What about maybe 500K? You know, should it be a little bit higher? I think I could maybe buy that argument. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of everything that I put out there in this video. I just wanted to kind of have a discussion because, again, I received a few comments on the interview about Ash, like, dude, Corpulent Cadaver nerf is messed up and all UCCs are wrong for being on board with it. So I wanted to hear from you guys. Shout out to Nub and shout out to Hell Hades. I'll include both of those videos for you guys to go ahead and check out in the description below. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.